What's going on, boys? My name is Sid, and welcome back to New York 81%, 82, 3 is it? I'm not quite sure, but the 80-something% shortcut in New York. That if you boys know anything about the Crew 2, you'll recently have been made aware that this shortcut right here was patched. It was fixed in the most recent update. But the problem is that it wasn't just this. See, it seemed originally that they were trying to get away with not telling us this. That didn't end up being the case, because we got a tweet from Ivory Tower. That tweet is on screen right now, but it was done in such a weird way. Why was the change made and not in patch notes, but, you know, instead we just get a tweet later on? It definitely seemed like something was awry, but at the end of the day, we did find out about this shortcut patch change afterwards, but we didn't find out on the actual day it was patched. Where am I? Let me continue going on this shortcut. So the tweet definitely seemed like oh, what? The patch is in the game? Let's, yeah, hey guys, the patch is in the game. But only one other issue with that is that not only this was patched, like I said, other things were patched as well, and some weird changes were made. But those also we weren't told about. And let's begin with some of the more mundane ones. A simple one that is very similar to this change. One that is an interesting way of going about a change. And one that I don't actually think was meant to make it into the game. I think the last one definitely seems like a bug. But let's begin. SidWaj from the end of the video here. If you want to know why I'm in Seattle and why I'm in a touring car, then just wait till the end of the video to see one of the more interesting changes that I think has come out of this whole thing. But yes, I just want to remind you to head down there, subscribe with notifications on. It would be very, very much appreciated. I'm trying my best, doing everything I can with the Crew 2, just getting some entertainment out of this damn game. And, you know, here I am. So head down there, subscribe with notifications on, and do leave a like on the video. It'd be very much appreciated. And honestly, the best thing you could do is just check out some of the other stuff on the channel. On top of that, just let me know what you think about all the things in this video. Let me know what you think of the changes, of the, you know, the updates, the things that were removed, the things that were added, down in the comment section. So back to the rest of the video. Coming in after New York is Bronx. Now, there was a shortcut there where you could turn left. You'd go on this old grassy area and then respawn. And you'd respawn right around here. But that's not the shortcut we're talking about right now. See, in Bronx, when you get to around the 6%, 7% mark, there is this shortcut right here, which sees you go over around here to the very next checkpoint, which used to be this one. This was the next checkpoint, and you'd respawn right there. But no, instead, they added not only one checkpoint, so you can't just grab it and continue there. They added 2 new checkpoints, very closely mirroring the 2 new added checkpoints in New York Hypercar that completely stop you from going around a shortcut the wrong way. Technically, it's a bit of a different way of going about it. There's not a lot of respawning, not since the Back on Track patch on New York. But it's interesting, because if you'll follow me into later into the race, there's also something that wasn't patched, you know? And I think it's more interesting that something wasn't patched than was in this situation. Obviously, there's this bridge cut, which... okay, not cut. I didn't even mean to say cut. Just a bridge turn. A bad one. But this puts you on this road, which is a sort of a thinner road, that then follows back all the way over to a little town. I personally refer to this as the town cut, but, you know, I don't think it really has, like, an iconic name of any kind. But you slow down. Look at you. You grab this shortcut by bouncing off the wall. And then you go on a completely different route through the town, crashing into an AI car that kills you dead because it weighs 1 billion tons. Let me try that again. Now, one thing is the cut that they did patch here is a respawn cut, you know? It's a respawn shortcut, which I'm not an amazing fan of. It means it's a lot harder to do on PlayStation or anything with amazingly slow load times like the crew has. I can do it because I'm on PS5, but, you know, respawn cuts, I don't know if... I feel like they lose a bit of skill. I did a big thing of like our shortcut skill. I think shortcuts where you actually still have to maneuver your way through something, like here where I completely fumbled the bag and crashed into that car, that would be a show of not having much skill. I managed to crash into something on something that was still a bunch of turns, and often, this is a terrible car for this, often some shortcuts will take you through harder areas than the actual road. It's just, in the end, it's quicker, so people will, you know, weigh up the sacrifices. So, it's an interesting dilemma, but even more interesting is the fact that they left in that shortcut while not patching, while patching the other one. But that isn't the end of the shortcuts that have been patched or race changes that have been made that, you know, we didn't really know about, but instead we're not going too far from here. We're only going from Bronx to Harlem. Harlem West, to be specific. And you may know this race because it's an iconic race, being one of the best street races for money in the game. No, Harley Davidson Red Rock isn't good. But there's one shortcut in this race where you follow through here, try not to spin out, and you usually would go through there fine. But instead what they've done is they've actually given a rock a hitbox that it used to have. See, originally, this rock has always been here, but allegedly what I've been told is this rock did once upon a time have a hitbox. But then they got rid of it and people started using this as the cut. This was the main cut I would take. I'd go right through, zoom in through there, because I found it a lot more satisfying than anything else. But now you can just go through here instead. So, you know, they updated the rock hitbox for some reason, even though the shortcut remains. But not only that, is also this. Okay, that wasn't that good of a show of it. When you're going faster, it's a lot harder to line up the hitbox. But they also sort of meddled with the hitbox of that rock right there. I can't seem to hit it now, but trust me, bro. See, if Chris's middle name had just been the Harlem Rock, then maybe Will wouldn't have gotten it so easy over it. It definitely does make this version of the shortcut completely impossible now. Instead, I'll show you the actual way to take this shortcut, which is a bit more annoying than what it used to be. But that is along the lines of just simply going next to the tree right after. And everything else remains exactly the same. Rodney from Flushed Away is chilling in his yellow demon. And I am still managing to fly by that rock, even though every time I try it, when I'm not trying to hit it, then I'll manage to hit it. Okay, you know what? Let's go to the next thing, because this one is even more interesting than any of the others, I'd say. Now, right now, you can clearly see that I'm not actually in an event right now. Instead, I'm just sort of, you know, in the open world. And going through this little place where, you know, you look around and maybe you'd consider this place, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere. Well, if you've been playing the Crew 2 long enough, you'll know of these things, you know. I think you've been playing the game for any amount of time. You'll know of the concept of some barriers, right? But that's not the issue here, because it's not the barriers that are the issue. It's the lack of barriers that are the issue. Right here, especially, not a single barrier in sight. But if we head over and look at this run by fellow Crew 2 content creator, It's Jar, you'll see from 4 months ago, and this change was made just this update, that they have in fact actually gone through this race and hand removed, it's only in 720p, every single barrier. As you can see right there, you have a barrier there, and even the barrier that I showed you right there. But a barrier right there too that now isn't. And the area I was showing you right at the end there's a barrier there. The little hairpin area, barrier there. Barrier and barrier. But then there's 3 separate barriers that they have gotten rid of. 4. Yes, this race that has honestly been very well documented in its removal of shortcuts and exploits is now actually been subject to a patch that just removes every single barrier. And it's just... like, it's funny to think. It's just funny to think. Because obviously this is to deter players who would use these barriers to, instead of actually going round a turn, they would just wall ride. They'd get their car right next to the barrier and just allow the wall to turn them. And sometimes this could even result in higher speeds than what braking and taking a racing line would have put you out at. Now they are all gone, so you actually have to take this race properly, unfortunately. And allegedly, I'm not sure, I don't know, escapes, but apparently it did also screw up an escape where you would use one of these barriers to turn in a drag car in that escape. And because of the removal of the barrier, now that escape is a lot more biased towards wheel players who can actually turn their drag cars. But it's just so interesting here to, instead of... because they've patched this race before. They've put more checkpoints. They've done things like that to patch this race. And then to just go ham and spam delete all on barriers in this race just seems so funny to me. Especially to sacrifice them in the open world as well, you know. It's not even like the barriers disappear when you're in the race. They're just gone now. And I don't know how much of these shortcuts is going to be reverted. I assume, because this was added this update, that it's gonna stay, but I don't know, who knows? But one thing that I assume, very much assume, will be reverted is this next and final change that we didn't know about. So you would think, right, you'd think in an update like US Speed Tour, where all the roads are barriered off, you know, there goes Sid flying, because it's a serious race, you know, nits to grits and whatnot. But surprisingly, although there was one shortcut in the off-road series of the US Speed Tour, it wasn't in this. This is US Speed Tour Stage 8, a very obscure race with an obscure number. But one issue with the US Speed Tour was everyone would always wall ride. So, like I said, they'd glue to the wall and use that to get around the turns, from the rallycross ones, to the rally raid ones, to the touring car ones, or the Alpha GP ones. But it seems, I don't know if it's because of the wall ride, because it seems like such a weird fix or patch that this has happened. And the problem is the hitbox is still there. So again, I don't think it's supposed to be a patch, maybe a deterrent. You can't exit the barrier, unfortunately. I was told that you could exit, but no, I'm now learning that no, the hitbox is still exactly what it was before, and you can still wall ride exactly as you could before. I'm assuming this one's a mistake. I'm assuming, kind of hoping, this one definitely seems like a mistake, you know? It doesn't appear to be an actual thing that's supposed to be in the game, but it's an interesting thing in this long line of things that have changed this update that they didn't tell us about, but, you know, I've told you about them. So if you find anything else, do comment down below, do let me know, because this is all I could find in the span of like a week, 2 weeks of asking people, asking in servers and whatnot. But here we are, with the cuts that we found, the shortcut patches that we know, which is Bronx, the Harlem Rock hitbox change, the removal of all barriers in the middle of nowhere, the New York shortcut patch, as well as this very weird, I suppose, texture or asset, because it's not the hitbox. So, you know, That's all been changed, and that's me telling you about them. What do you think about them changing these? What do you think about shortcuts being changed? What do you think about anything being patched? I'll see you boys in the next video, which will be whenever, honestly. That's going to be about it from me, boys. Thank you to popular members, a special thank you to famous members, and an insane thank you to Icon member for the love of life. In a bit.